Hello everyone listening, it's Dave here, and this is my first ever podcast, and I am so thrilled to be able to talk with you through technology today. And first of all, I want to thank everybody for supporting me. Some for many years, others new friends, new cakers, as we call them, coming on board, and the love and support that you give me every day gives me purpose to continue what I'm doing, which I have been doing since 1982. I set up David Cakes, but realistically I've been making cakes with my mum as my mentor from about the age of 5, which is a long time. And during that journey, so many things have happened. This is all new to me, the podcast, but when I teach classes, my mindset is always about allowing a student to express who they are and what they love through their creativity. And sometimes, but not all the time, and I completely respect that, some students wish to offload, shall we say. So if we're in a group scenario setting, there may be certain students who want to kind of make a difference in their life, put something new into their life. So they tend to want to talk a bit, which is fantastic, I think. So when I start a class, I always introduce myself, and then I tell a little bit about myself. And then basically I invite everybody else, should they wish to tell me their name. So everyone in the group knows their name and a bit of their background, why they're here today at the class scenario, and what they would like to achieve out of the experience. Some people are very quick, short to the point, others open up, and whichever way that student communicates that moment is brilliant. And what it does is it breaks the ice. We all get to know each other and we all have a fantastic time. And you can see through the videos that we have on our website, our social media, we've had some fantastic, amazing times together. And it's wonderful to see beyond the classes where students kind of end up, shall we say. Some set up businesses, which are super successful, and I'm so proud to look back at them. Some we've remained friends, and others kind of dip in and go away and then dip in again maybe years later. But we all share one thing in common, which is our love for what we do, which is cake and creativity. So a little bit about me, just to start the ball rolling, and welcoming you back here to YouTube, which is where I'm uploading this long podcast. And feel free to fast forward or switch me off should you not want to listen to me waffle, as we say. It's our joke. My Liverpool expression is I'm talking for England, but I have friends in the States, and I say I'm waffling on, and I send a little picture of a waffle. So a waffle a day or a waffle a week is good for the heart. I do talk a lot. So this is my offload at the same time as hopefully entertaining you. So my journey started very early in life doing the cakes, just so you know, watching my mum. I've told this story many times, watching my mum in the kitchen. And then I was the first boy at school to ever do cookery, which at that time in my world and in the world generally, guys did not do. cooking. Boys did not do cooking at school. It was something to be laughed at. And that it's something I wanted to do. And it sort of came with a shame label. We're talking 1970s. I am now 61 years old this year. So this was a long time ago. And the world's a much different place today, much more tolerant today, so much more opportunities out there. And the world is, I know it's a very sad world as well, but the creative world stays very, united and inspired. And there's so much more out there than there was back in the time of my career, the start of my career. So when I was in school, it was a big decision to make, if I'm honest with you, because I knew I'd get mocked, I knew I'd get laughed at, and I did. But I've met a lot of school friends at the time who I guess I was intimidated by. I've met them in later life, and we've all laughed together and realised we were just kids. We were just finding our way. So people, and I know that from my own experiences, things can be misunderstood. And, here we are. Here I am grown up. But still never fully growing up, but grown up enough to be able to look back and say, yeah, I've had good times, I've had indifferent times, I've had bad times, I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've come through it all with experience, which has made me a better person. And after doing cookery at school, I achieved what I wanted to achieve, which was I got an O level in cookery, and my other love was art. And I ultimately left school with 2 qualifications that I flunked, as people would say. I failed everything else, including English grammar, English language. I was in a lower level, shall we say, class for my, what's the word I'm looking for? Because I was good at what I was good at, which was being creative at that time in history in schools. Because you were good at something, it was tended to be, the mindset was, oh, you must be good at everything else. And I was put in classes doing chemistry, physics, biology, all the things that we did. But I was kind of initially put in those classes for people with more intelligence in that field than I was. And of course, it wasn't what I wanted to do. I couldn't absorb at that point in my life because my life was consumed with creativity. So ultimately I flunked. And then I was put in classes that were like the second level of knowledge, because this is the way it was in those days. And basically, ultimately, I ended up in a lower class that wasn't doing an O level. It was doing what was called the CSE. And I actually failed them as well. So I was the product of the system that came out of the school with nothing, kind of according to my peers. The teachers, a lot of the teachers at school were critical of that. Some were supportive of that. And it was suggested that I will never achieve anything the day I went to collect my 2 O levels, because I was kind of disappointed. They were disappointed in me. In my world, because I left with 2 A's, O levels, I was on my way. And then from that, my mum could see my passion. You'll know I talk about my mum a lot. I've got an extraordinary relationship with my mum. I love my mum. She's the backbone of David Cakes. I can't take all the credit here. She's the lady who has stood by me, and my dad, don't get me wrong. But my mum was my business partner. She was the lady who banged on the doors. And she did from a very young age, because she went up to the school and basically talked the headmaster into allowing me to do cookery, which at the time he looked at me and was kind of confused why I would want to do that, because it wasn't done in the 1970s in school, in England especially. And from that moment, my mum was like, but this is what my son wants to do. and I would like you to find a way to maybe help him. So he suggested it, and he said, I do remember it. It's weird the way you remember certain things. And he said, you could get a lot of hassle, shall we say, with this, people having a go at you, maybe getting bullied, which I understand now. I didn't at the time. And I was like, yeah. But I loved it. It was my moment to be in the kitchen, and I'm sitting there with a load of girls, and we all got on and we had a laugh. And then I did art. That was my secondary thing. So my second love of life, art. I had the honour of being allowed to do A-level art, even though I wasn't an A-level student. I didn't do it. I sat in a class during geography because I loved geography, but it wasn't clever enough. And basically, I didn't get on with the teacher, and he didn't like me. And this is a long time ago. That's when I said to my mum, I don't want to go back and do geography. I refused to go back and do geography. I boycotted geography. So I've always been a rebel because I didn't like the situation. And that's when my mum went up to see the headmaster, explain the situation. And he turned around and said, well, if you want, because Dave loves art, we can put him in the art class. He can just sit there in the background and sort of stay out the way as long as he doesn't bother the other students, whatever. So I got this privilege, and I didn't ask for that. I didn't expect that, but I was put in a classroom with A-level art students, and I was 2 years behind. And school system was very different then. Obviously, that would not be something that would be considered nowadays. But I was prepared to kind of skive, should we call the word? That's a very Liverpool expression. Run away from school at that point in my life because I felt that I didn't belong there. I felt that it wasn't giving me what I needed except for these two subjects. So I think maybe compromise in life in those days was ways to try and help people. Nowadays, mental health issues, for example, are dealt with head on, which is wonderful. And people are taken into consideration and they're given the support that they need. And just because we're creative doesn't mean that we struggle, because we do. As I'm sure if you're a cake decorator running your own business, you understand the pressures that I'm talking about. Day to day, we are challenged. Sometimes we get up and we don't feel like working when we have to, but we do, because there's something inside us that says, come on, you can do this. And that's my calling on a day-to-day basis. And even at 61, I have to give myself a purpose to want to continue, because the older you get, the more challenges you face. I'm not after any medals here. And sadly, you start losing people who you love, which has happened a lot. And because I love my mum, I take care of my mum when I can. She's losing a lot of friends at the moment. So I'm seeing it, and I can see what's coming for me ultimately. And that gives me reevaluation to turn around and say, I am not going to become an old person. I say this to my mum, who's 87 now, and she laughs at me. She says, but you are. I said, no, but I'm not. And she says, well, no, neither am I. Type of thing. And we chuckled together. But that's the essence, isn't it, of keeping you young. I digress, forgive me. So, I got all this opportunity in school, so I went for it. And that's when I came out with 2 qualifications, A's for both, because I want this. So what happened in the first year of O-level art, I failed my O-level, what do we call it? When you do it's like a pilot of a TV show. It's your first run, isn't it? It's not the official one. It's the one that you do before the main one. I don't know what it's like nowadays, but that's the way it was for me 50 years ago. And I said to my art teacher, I love drawing. How could this be? I was very much into portraiture and fine art, but the sort of art that take a long time to do. And she said to me, what we're looking for, what your examiners are looking for, is your creativity. Let your creativity be the lead, and they want to see your use in different mediums. Ooh. And at school in those days, you got that insight. I don't know if you get it now, so I can't speak up. So my art teacher, I thought she was an incredible lady, Mrs. Dempster. Wonderful lady. And if you're listening, I salute you. I know Miss Hart, my cookery teacher, she passed away. She was more elderly at the time I was learning from her. But these two people from school were my torches that I looked up to and I was inspired by. And Mrs. Dempster basically said to me, you know, you're good at what you do, but showcase what you can do using different medium. So my second attempt at getting an O-level, shall we say, when I went for the finals, was basically, I always remember it because I love gardening, and it was a greenhouse scene. And it was tomatoes in a greenhouse, little spider, all the things I could think of that would be in a greenhouse. And I didn't have anything to copy, because in those days when you did O-level art, you couldn't use something to copy. You had to use your imagination. So, of course, what I did that mixed it all up, I basically created a art piece, shall we call it, using different medium. So I remember using pencil to paint, say, the tomatoes. Forgive me, it's 50 years ago, I can't remember exactly. I used a biro pen to create the snail, shall we say. I used oil pastels to create the skyline. I used poster paint to create the flowering plants. I used oil paint. I don't know if it was oil paint, forgive me. Charcoal, that was definitely one, etc., etc. Crayons to do another bit. So ultimately, my art piece was a collaboration of different mediums on one item. And I think that's why when I cake decorate now, the freehand that I talk about is the school I came from all those years ago, where I basically, from school, worked in a bakery situation. And there again, it was just hands-on, just creating, doing things as and when you did it. Bakery, and I was like, I'm going to work in a bakery, woo woo. And I got there and I was basically watching and helping packing things. And you could turn around and say, oh, is that it? But I was fascinated. And Hayley and Autumn are part of our team, as you'll hear. And Filippo, he's the engineer. Callum is in the background doing all the internet. And we have our tech team. Alicia's there and Ed's there. We've worked with for 30 years. You'll get to know everybody. You'll hear about everybody more and more through these podcasts as we go. And you'll hear a lot about my mum. I digress a little bit now in that conversation, but just getting back to where I was, because when I left school with all these qualifications and did this brief stint, as we would call it, in this local bakery, I wanted to set up a business. Hey, I'm 16. I'm going to set up my own cake shop. But it was too soon. I didn't know what I was doing. And that's something I note nowadays, that people set up businesses very, very quickly. And I think the challenge, as I know, even today, is being able to sustain a business. I've kept it going for 40 years. Whether there was financial gains at that moment or not, because realistically, when we run a business, sometimes we're not making money, but we have to keep our brand going and we have to find ways to get our brand going. And that's something there again, we will talk about more in our podcasts. Just jumping in before I continue with what happened when I left school. Live at the Cake Club, our brand new series, is going to be very soon doing Business Club, and it will be a free live stream on David Cake's online YouTube channel. And it won't be just me talking like this. It will be Hayley and Autumn joining in the mix. And in times we're going to be having guests on the business club as well as on the creative club to get their take, shall we say, on what life running a business is really like, being in business, working for business. And please feel free to join us when that starts, because if you like these sort of conversations, real conversations about the real life behind the brand, shall we say, of my brand, other people's brand, potentially your brand, or maybe your brand, the fact that you're running your business now, or if you're dreaming of setting up a business, it's good to talk. Because by talking, I offload, so it's good for my mental health. But by talking, someone else may be able to hear something I say and what others say and pick up and say, oh, I didn't know that. Because I love podcasts. I love watching videos for all these reasons that I love learning. We're all here on YouTube to learn as well as be entertained, because even watching something on an entertainment level, we'll walk away from it with a mindset and a philosophy, maybe saying, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't like that. I've learned something today. I already knew that. So many different things we could say. So to end this podcast today, because these are sort of 20-minute, 30-minute episodes, when I left school, I knew what I wanted to do, but I had a long way to get there. So Mum, the tower of strength, the lady who ultimately, banged on so many bigger doors, went, I don't know how it all came about, but there was a college in Liverpool that is still there, but it wasn't the college. It is Colquitt Street and Technical and Nautical Catering College. Amazing title. I was so impressed. And I said to Mum, I want to go there. And I come from a very humble background, very, working class, ultimately. I've never forgotten my roots, and I'm very proud of my roots. I thought, there's no way am I going to be accepted into this college. But something I did do through school and through my personal journey in the kitchen was document and take photographs with a camera, Polaroid, and I had my artwork. There was no internet then, no mobile phones, no 4,000 pictures, which I've currently got on my mobile phone scenario. I mean, I'll never get time to look at them all. And why do we keep them all? But that's the way the world is today. We keep everything. In those days, I only kept the important things. So I had a collection of photographs of cakes I'd made with Mum, which I was so proud of. And I look back at them still with pride. They're not cake fails. I don't like that word cake fail, because we all failed at one point. So who am I to mock someone and say, let's have a laugh at everyone doing a cake fail? Yes, Dave has a big mouth. And there's certain things I may say that you may disagree with. And that's fine, because we agree to disagree. But we have to be encouraged, not discouraged, definitely in life, in order to achieve what we want to achieve. And I know those listening to me who know me, who've inspired me, who stood by me, will really be smiling at that comment, because it's because of them that I have achieved so much. And I never forget that. I'm just a normal guy. I'm just Dave. I love what I do, and I've been encouraged to do what I do, and I do what I do. And I've got a choice now, because I'm a big boy now. I'm not a little kid anymore, but I am at heart. And I make daily decisions that hopefully will make good things happen. Sometimes it doesn't always go to plan, but I guess I'm grown up enough to deal with that and not let it stop me. It doesn't burst my mojo. It gives me more determination rather than deflating me, shall we say. So how did I get into this college? We'll talk about it in depth on the next episode, because this is basically a journey podcast series of a day in the life of and the history of David Cakes and the journey of David Cakes. And thank you for listening if you still are. But basically, Mum banged on the door of the college, so to speak, and I got an opportunity to be taken on by a very kind gentleman at the time, Helmut Prof. And anyone who knows of him, he was Austrian, / German. Genius, my inspiration. I don't know if he is still around. Haven't seen him for a long time. But I salute you. And he gave me an opportunity against the odds because I didn't have all the O-levels that particularly were required, but I had something in his, he evaluated it, saw more of my artwork, saw all my qualifications, and I was given the opportunity to do a 2-year study course at college full-time, learning baking, food, technology, cake decorating. Woo! My ears went doing, propped up there, because that's what all at that point in time I wanted to do, not realizing that I couldn't just do cake decorating. I had to roll my sleeves up and get involved and grow up, basically, and learn everything else. And that was a challenge at 18 or 16, 17, whatever age. It was about 17 and a half or 17, because I left school when I was 15 and a half because of the age I was. It was all different then. So yeah, incredible 2-year journey, life-changing, met lifelong friends there. Had good times, bad times, and different times. I still wanted to be a party man, but couldn't party when I wanted to party because I wanted to evolve. All sorts of challenges. But I got through it, and great things came from it, which I will share in the next podcast. So I want to thank you deeply from my heart for joining me today, and hope you join me for part 2. And I just want to say thank you for your continued support, for being in my life, for all your friendship. I do know a lot of people who may be joining me don't speak English, and you followed me for a long time. And the music on our videos hopefully has communicated the joy and the love I share towards you, and the appreciation I have for you standing by me. But with the power of technology, hopefully the subtitles that accompany this video will let you understand me at last what I'm trying to convey to you, which is respect, gratitude, and I feel most blessed to have you in my life. That's all I can say. So I do wish you a great creative day, and thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. Take care and much love.